Good morning. Welcome back to hashtag Zoo Open Online. Today we're going to be hanging with our sloth. We know you guys have asked for this one, so we wanted to make sure that we came through for you. So we are going to be talking to Josh from our education department and hanging with our sloth, Rory. As you guys get in here, let us know you're here, that you can hear us, you can see us. We'll give some shout outs and then we will get right into talking everything you could ever want to know about sloths. All right, guys, who's here this morning? Hi, Max. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Diana. Caden loves sloths. Yes, making Caden's day. So, hey, Caden and Athena. Corey says her aunt loves sloths. Very cool. Hi, Alex. All right, guys, we are, as you can see, we are outside of the aviary where our sloth has an exhibit in the back. If you guys make it all the way through the aviary, right before you get to our interpretive area, our sloth exhibit is located there. So we just thought it was nice outside today. We thought we'd come out and share a little sunshine. We're hoping it'll peek through here for us with our sloth. So we'll say hey to Roland and Allie. Hi, Emily and Peyton, the Bishop family. Hi, Alex, and hi, Allison. Hey, Connie and Link, thanks for tuning in. Good morning, Jason. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and get started with our morning announcements so that we can get straight to the sloth here pretty quickly. Today, you can still order this week's Meals on the Go. Go to ToledoZoo.org/Meals on the Go. We're doing Greek gyro salads and the second entree that I just totally blanked on. So check it out at ToledoZoo.org/Meals on the Go. But you can always add on those adult beverages, the cookie kits, cupcake kits. There's truly something there for everybody. So get those in. Remember, pickup is tomorrow from 4 to 6 at the Broadway lot, and orders have to be in by tomorrow at 1 p.m. And don't forget about our kids club. You know, summer camps are looking a little different this year, so we're doing a virtual summer kids club. It's for ages about 5 to 12, and check all the details out at ToledoZoo.org/Kids Club. It starts next week, so go ahead and get your kids signed up for that, especially if they've been enjoying these. It's going to have a lot of this same idea, a lot of cool crafts and games and interactions with zoo staff all around the zoo. So make sure you get the kids signed up for that. And of course, we don't know yet when we're going to be able to open, but we really appreciate all of you guys hanging in there with us and helping to support us during this difficult time. We have appreciated it very much, but we can still use your help. Without people coming through the doors, our revenue is down, but we want to say thank you for helping to sustain us during this time. You can go to ToledoZoo.org/donate to continue helping us. And always, we have our donate button here on our live feed. All right, guys, it is sloth time. Josh, talk to us about Miss Rory here.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Rory. Yeah, so Rory is a sloth, and sloths do everything slowly. So we're going to check her out. So Rory is what we call a two-toed sloth. There are a few different types of sloth in the world, and this type of sloth gets her name because of the two claws on the front feet. So a two-toed sloth, there's actually two types, and ours is a southern two-toed sloth. So it's found in Colombia, Brazil, Venezuela, so all in the Amazon. And not only are they built for a slow life, they are built for being up in trees. And they have a lot of features that help them to be up in trees. The claws are pretty obvious. So those claws can be between 3 and 4 inches long on a sloth, and they help it to just hang upside down. This is the normal position for a sloth, to be hanging upside down. So one thing that's really different about a sloth from other mammals is the fur. So most mammals' fur grows from the back to the belly. The sloth's fur grows from the belly to the back. That way, when it's really wet and rainy, the rain will run right off of the fur of the sloth. And this fur is really amazing. It's coarse and it has grooves. That's actually to encourage algae to grow in the fur. Sloths have been described as kind of a mini ecosystem of themselves, because they'll get algae on their fur, and then they'll get all sorts of insects that will live in the fur and the algae. And that happens because they move so slowly. So right now she's chomping on some sweet potato. Here we give her sweet potato, apples, grapes. She gets a leaf eater biscuit, all sorts of delicious things. In the wild, they're going to eat fruits. They'll eat some young branches as long as it's tender, and they'll eat some leaves as well.
And she's showing off her chompers for us here. Talk to us about those. Are those canines we're seeing there?
Those are canine teeth. Mostly for now, they're used for defense. So if a sloth is threatened, it might use its teeth and it might use its claws. Most of the chewing goes in the back of the mouth with its molars. So here's a question for all of you joining us live. We have a relative of the sloth here at the zoo, but it looks nothing like the sloth. So what do you think the closest relative of the sloth might be?
All right, guys, send us in your answers and we will see if anybody gets this one right. It is, as he said, nothing close.
No,
nothing.
It doesn't look like the sloth. It has a feature in common that once you realize it, it makes sense.
Yes. All right, so let's take some questions here. Morgan wants to know, how long has Rory been at the zoo?
She's been at the zoo about 6 years or so.
And Sue asks, how did you get her to move?
How do we get her to move? She is choosing to move. I have a little bit of a motivation with the food, but mostly she is choosing to go where she wants. She's one of our ambassador animals, so she's used to being on the perch, used to being around people. But we make requests of her to go in the crate or go on the tree, and she makes the choice herself.
And Connie would like to know, do they stand with their claws on the ground?
Ooh, they're a little bit awkward on the ground. They can go down to the ground, and they are really super slow moving, walking on the ground. So they're really designed for the tree, but sloths are actually very good swimmers.
Surprising. All right, Layla wants to know, do they have any predators?
They do have predators. Since they're way up in the trees, one of the main predators would be a large eagle from South America called the harpy eagle. But they are vulnerable if they go down to the ground. So a rainforest cat like a jaguar would also be a predator. But their strategy is, if they do things slowly and stay up in the trees, a predator has a really hard time finding a sloth.
Absolutely. All right, we're getting some answers in here. We have guesses of anteater, armadillo, red panda, sloth bear, Andean bear, koala, camel, chimpanzee, possum, sloth bear, Andean bear, tapir. Anybody getting close here?
Yeah, no, we have a right answer. So those were all great guesses, and it's easy to find some common features between all of those animals and the sloth. The right answer is anteater.
That was our very first one. Good job, guys.
If you notice, anteaters have claws, very similar to the sloth. Now, armadillo is also a correct answer. I forgot we have armadillos here too. So yeah, they're all in the same group of mammals. So they look pretty different, but they're the closest relatives of each other.
And Ronnie would like to know, do we have other sloths here
We
at the
do.
zoo?
Yeah, we have two sloths. So we have Rory and Mona, and they're on exhibit together.
And that leads right into Bennett's question. Where is her exhibit?
Her exhibit is in the aviary, kind of towards the end. So you'll make your way through and near where the emperor tamarins are.
All right. And yes, guys, we do have things other than birds in our aviary. So those of you, and I've heard it before, you're like, oh, I'm not that fond of birds, I'm not going to go in there. Go in there. There are some really, really cool things in the aviary. Dawn would like to know, what is their lifespan?
Yeah, it averages around 16, 17 years, but the record holder was at the Smithsonian Zoo and lived for 49 years.
Oh my goodness.
So they can live a pretty long time in captivity.
Wow. And Mallory wants to know, has Rory ever swam here at the zoo?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think she's had the opportunity to swim.
And Miles, Juliana, and Simone from Sylvania want to know, do they swim upside down like this?
They don't. No, they do a nice front crawl when they're swimming.
Very cool. All right. And Annabelle, age 9, asks, why do they move so slowly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a sloth is designed to do things slowly to save energy. So a mammal that is normally this size is going to be in the 30 to 40 pound range. A sloth weighs a lot less than that, somewhere right around 20 or less. So they're very lightweight, and to be that lightweight, they actually give up muscle. So they don't have nearly as much muscle as another mammal their size. And that saves energy. Muscle takes a lot of energy and a lot of food to power. So giving up that muscle makes them light. That way they can go up higher in the trees. But it's at a sacrifice. They don't move nearly as fast.
And Jenna asks, what's the best time of day to see her active?
Sloths tend to be nocturnal. But with that in mind, they're sleeping roughly 15 hours a day. So here at the zoo, your best chance is either early in the morning or towards the end of the day when the zoo is about to close. Most of the middle of the day, she's going to be sleeping.
And Tom asks, what is a sloth's favorite treat?
It depends. In my experience, Rory tends to like the apple slices that we give. But each person who works with her might have a little bit different viewpoint. Right now, you can see she's got her eyes kind of closed. She's just hanging out. But grapes are also pretty popular too.
All right. And Sue asks, what's the advantage of the smooth skin under her legs?
Oh, you're looking at those are actually kind of long feet. So it's like a callus or a skin pad to help grip the branches. So the branches on this perching are relatively small. She can use just her claws. But for a larger branch, she'll need to wrap more of that foot around. So that pad is to help grip.
And Jennifer asks, are they endangered?
They are not considered endangered. There are other sloths that are, but this type of sloth isn't. With that being said, everything that lives in the Amazon is something that we need to keep an eye on. The Amazon is a habitat that is disappearing, and even though this animal right now is still doing well with a population, if the rainforest disappears, it will be in trouble too.
And Alex asks, how long are its claws?
Hers aren't quite this long, but they can get up to 4 inches.
Wow. And Marianne asks, can they be fast if they need to be?
They can have spurts of speed, but speed is relative. But yes, they can be, but their life strategy is to stay still. Here's another good example. the food that they eat sometimes takes weeks to digest. So it's not just moving slow. Inside their body, the metabolism goes slow as well.
And Carter asks, do they require vitamin supplements as they age like we do?
We give them a varied diet. I am not their keeper, so I don't know all of what goes into their diet, but I know that they work with the diet to make sure it's getting all of its vitamin needs.
And can you recap for Ainsley what Rory eats?
Yeah, so in the wild, a sloth is going to eat leaves, fruit, young branches that are tender. Here at the zoo, she'll get a biscuit, a leaf eater biscuit, sweet potato, fruits.
All right. And Vivian wants to know if sloths make any sounds.
They can make a sound. They will actually call to each other in mating season. And otherwise, they make kind of a hissing sound, almost like somebody a little bit out of breath.
Okay. And Daniel wants to know, are sloths the slowest animal on Earth?
If they're not the slowest, they're up there. They do move slowly, and everything about them is on a slower pace. I don't know that I could give it the title slowest, because there are others that move pretty slow too.
Yes. And Marianne wants to know, does she let you hold her?
You know, I do not hold her. I actually, unless absolutely necessary, don't even really touch her. The relationship that I have with her is she's very comfortable being next to me. She loves it when I'm giving her her food. And otherwise, we try to give her her space.
She is very good at social distancing.
She is.
Take it from the sloths. Have a little social distance, right?
Yeah, and in the wild, they tend to be solitary, but there might be more than one sloth in the same tree, but they're not living in big groups.
And I like how she's reaching out like, more please?
Yes.
More please? Layla, age 6, asks, do they sleep upside down?
They do, yeah, they do most of what they need to do in this pose right here. Now, when they sleep, they tend to curl up into a ball, and that looks kind of like the knot of a tree, or maybe like a wasp or hornet's nest when they're all curled up. But yeah, it's all upside down. When a baby is born, it spends about 5 weeks on the belly, but then it hangs upside down after that.
Unreal. That's so cool. And Andrea, this sloth's name is Rory, and she's been here at the zoo for about 6 years. And Mary asks, does she like eggs?
You know, in the wild, a sloth will occasionally eat an insect or a bird egg. I don't know if our sloths have ever had that. That's not a necessary component of their diet. So mostly it's the fruits.
And Max wants to know, how many babies will sloths have at once?
They'll have one at a time. And a sloth could have one baby every year of its life after the age of 3, when it's mature.
And do they all have this amazing ombre hair that she has?
It depends. Yeah, but keep in mind there are different types of sloths. There's a 3-toed sloth that looks like it has a mask. So some of their color is a little bit different, but overall body shape and the shape of the hair is pretty similar.
Very cool. What enrichment activities do we do with her? Trino asks.
Well, being outside is definitely a form of enrichment. Being on this perching, so this is an opportunity for her to stretch a little bit, be in a different setting, and be active. So that's all very positive. Within her enclosure, making sure that they have different branching and perching options so that they can explore. So those are all different forms of the enrichment. Our sloths have also had some enclosure mates over the years. They've lived with armadillos. They've lived with tamarins too.
Very cool. And Russell asks, how soft is her fur?
It is not soft. It's actually very coarse fur.
And Sage would like to know, how much does she weigh?
Oh, I'm not sure of her exact weight, but a full-grown two-toed sloth is going to be right around 17, 18 pounds, but each individual is a little bit different.
And Kimmy asks, do they need claw care in captivity?
They could. If it became a problem, yeah, their claws might need to be trimmed. Obviously, as they're climbing in the wild, they kind of file down those claws naturally. So if they were to get out of hand, we might need to help them file down their claws. But that really depends individual to individual.
All right. And can you recap for Jennifer what kind of sloth this is?
Yes, this is a southern two-toed sloth.
And you mentioned that many sloths have algae growing on them. Why doesn't her hair have any? Is that something that only happens in the wild?
Yeah, she's not in an environment in the enclosure to have that algae growing. So in the wild, obviously there is algae and things that can live in her fur. In the enclosure, there isn't that. But there also isn't that need. That algae ends up working like a camouflage. And since there's no predators here at the zoo for her, she doesn't need that algae as a defense. But yeah, it would be the humidity and the habitat in the wild that would end up promoting that algae growth.
And Rebecca asks, how small are they when they're born?
Oh, that's a hard thing to imagine, but a baby would fit perfectly on the belly. It would sit, well, now she's not cooperating, but it would sit right in the belly. So it's about the size of the belly of a sloth.
And can you recap for Sylvia, age 7, how long sloths live?
Yeah, the average is right around that 16 to 17 years. But there are sloths that have been known to live much longer than that.
And Tony, age 9, would like to know, do sloths fart?
Oh, well, I'm not certain about that. I would imagine they have a lot of bacteria in their gut to help them digest. I do know that they only go to the bathroom about once a week, and they climb down the trees to do that.
That's one of the few times they come down.
That's right. So, yeah, if you were going on a car trip, a sloth would be a great companion because they can hold it for a long time.
They don't need those potty breaks, huh? And Ethan, age 9, from Michigan, asks, how often do sloths take a bath?
In the wild, a bath is not on the docket for a sloth. They might end up going swimming if they need to cross a river, or if they accidentally fall in the water. But other than that, they don't actually need a bath.
And Travis wants to know, are they really as slow as their reputation?
Well, they're pretty slow. Maybe not quite as slow as their reputation, but they are significantly slow.
And can you remind us and Jenna how many hours a day they sleep?
Yeah, right around that 15 hours.
Sloths have it made, huh?
Yeah, so, twice as long as most people sleep.
And Pamela asks, do they smell?
As in, do they have an odor, or they have a really good sense of smell, and that they use to find their food. Their eyesight isn't as great. In terms of, do they have an odor? They definitely could, especially since that coarse fur ends up being that ecosystem. So you could say they smell a little bit like the rainforest.
Okay. And the Hathaway family wants to know, does the sloth need brushed?
No, this is exactly what it looks like when she wakes up in the morning. Her hair is always perfect.
I love it. I love it. And guys who are asking, her name is Rory. Let's see here. Ulrich, age 4, asks, does she have toys to play with?
Do you know, a sloth isn't one to play with toys. In the enclosure, like I said, there's a lot of different perching that she can explore and go to different spots. But she's not like a primate that would be as interactive in the enrichment that would be spread out in an exhibit.
Her activity is more the jungle gym type thing.
That and that 15 hours of sleeping. You got to find time for that.
Yes, yes. And Stephanie asks, what are you feeding her?
Yeah, I have a combination of sweet potato, apple, and grape. But right now she seems pretty content just hanging out on the perch. So if she's happy exploring, I'm happy to let her explore.
And Rylan, age 7, says, can guests ever pet Rory or Mona?
No, we do not allow guests to touch our sloths. We do allow you to get up close and get a nice view, but you've seen her sharp canine teeth.
Yes.
You can see her claws, and sloths are just not an animal that is cuddly. So it's best to enjoy watching her, but keep a little distance.
As we said, she is the poster child for social distancing here.
That's right.
And we have 2 sloths at the zoo, correct?
That is correct.
And this is Rory, and our other one
is Mona.
All right. And they are located in an exhibit at the very back of the aviary. So as we said, we know some people say, oh, I'm not all that into birds, and they skip going through the aviary. But when you do that, you're missing out on some really cool animals, because we have poodoo and mouse deer and sloths and tamarins and a lot of really cool other animals in there. So guys, make sure that you go through the aviary when you're here. Put that on your must-do list.
And you know what, while you're in there, you might end up seeing that there's a bird that you enjoy seeing too.
Absolutely.
Because we have a lot of amazing animals in our aviary.
Yes. And Sarah asks, are sloths, I can't say it, are sloths social?
Sloths are solitary. So they're pretty much going to be alone most of their life. They're not antisocial though. So it is possible for sloths to share the same tree, but they're not necessarily a group that's moving together.
Okay. And Ashton wants to know, has she ever fallen off the tree?
I've never had her fall off this tree in the wild. It is fairly common that a sloth will fall from a tree. Sometimes it's able to grab a branch on the way down, but their body design is designed for that fall. And because of their metabolism, and they don't have that energy going to muscle, they're able to actually heal more effectively than some other animals. So it's pretty amazing how they are able to heal. And because they don't need speed in their life, their body can take the time to heal. Whereas most animals, if they fell from a tree and had some sort of injury, would be susceptible to predators. A sloth still has all of its adaptations to survive. So it does happen. Usually they don't get severely injured, but even if they get an injury, they have the opportunity to heal.
That is really interesting. And that leads right into Brittany's question. Josh, how did you learn all of this? What type of degree do you have to work here at the zoo?
Well, I have a degree in zoology, but I should say that I studied more of the ichthyology, the study of fish. Some of this is on the job training and passion. So my degree gave me a great foundation for understanding animals, but I learn things every day, No one person can be an expert of all animals. So I learn from the keepers, from the curators. I do some research. And really, I learn from talking to people. Getting a good question that stumps me is a great motivation to research and have that answer for the next time.
Awesome. And Josh, your cousin Jessica, age 39, would like to know, how much do their babies weigh and how long is their gestation?
I don't know how much a baby sloth weighs, but the gestation is about 6 months. And then they'll be on the belly for about 5 weeks. And they'll start hanging on their own after that, and they'll live with their mother for about another 6 months afterwards.
And Adam asks, how often do they mate?
They could annually. So a female sloth could have a baby once a year.
And Pamela asks, does the zoo have any plans to mate our sloths?
Well, both of our sloths are female, so at this time, no, we do not.
All right. And Sue wants to know, how does she keep the rain out of her nostrils when she's hanging upside down like this?
That's a good question. When they're sleeping, they actually kind of curl their head in, so that would help to protect. And then I guess she probably just doesn't mind.
Fair enough. And Emma asks, where do sloths live? Where can they be found in the wild?
Yeah, so this type of sloth is from the Amazon, so Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil. There are other sloths throughout other parts of South America and into Central America as well.
Very cool. And let's see here, we're scrolling through your questions. Oh, Cruz asks, how good is their eyesight? She seems to be squinting a lot.
Squinting or maybe trying to catch a little nap for that 15 hours. Their eyesight is not the best. They use that nose primarily to find their food. That doesn't mean they can't see, just they use the nose primarily.
Very cool. All right, guys. We have made it through to the end of our list of questions here. And we want to remind you guys that we are committed to being here each weekday until the zoo opens. And unfortunately, we don't know when that's going to be. But as soon as we hear when the zoo is going to open, we will let you guys know on these Facebook Lives, on our social, and on our website. We appreciate you hanging in there with us. We want to welcome you back as much as you guys want to come back. So thank you so much for joining us. Josh, thank you for telling us all about Rory. You had amazing answers.
Yeah.
I think we all learned so much today.
Well, my pleasure. I enjoy doing these and connecting with people from Portland, Oregon to right next door to the zoo.
Yeah, it's so cool. So thank you guys so much. And I think Rory's ready for a nap here. So we're going to sign off today and we will see you guys next time.